Hello, this lesson is on exponential and logarithmic forms. You're already familiar with exponential forms. We're going to talk more about logarithmic forms and how they are tied together today. Okay, so before we get into that real quickly, just wanted to review negative exponents. If you recall, if you have a negative exponent, it really moves it down to the bottom and makes it positive. So for example, if you have 4 to the negative 2 power, that becomes 1 over 4 squared. And then 4 squared is 16, so you get 1/16. And then another way to think about this is if you go back the other way, you started with 1 over 81. Well, 81 is 3 to the 4th power, so you could write that as 1 over 3 to the 4th, which would be the same as 3 to the negative 4th power. So just a quick refresher about negative exponents. It's okay if you don't remember that well. You're just going to see some negative exponents, so I wanted to bring it up. Okay. What is a logarithm? Well, I wrote this in here. So you've seen this kind of problem before. How many times would you have to double a dollar before you had $16? So one way to write that would be starting amount is a buck. You're doubling every time, so 2, how many times? We don't know, so put X. And then when is that going to equal 16? And then the next line I wrote there in purple, well, 1 times 2 to the X is just 2 to the X equals 16. And 2 to the 4th power is 16, so you'd have to double it 4 times. So that 4 is your exponent. Another way to say that is your logarithm, and that's what we're going to talk about. You may have noticed the log button on your calculator. So a logarithm, the exponent to which a specific base is raised to obtain a certain value. So really you just need to think the logarithm is the exponent to get a certain value. Okay, so you are already familiar with exponential form. So we're going to start with something like, how about keeping it simple here? 3 squared equals 9. Okay, so this number right here, 3, that is called a base. Okay, this squared here is your exponent. All right, so when we convert it to logarithmic form, you'll notice here I kind of have a diagram of what you need to do. But first of all, you're going to write it. I'll write this in a different color here. So the logarithm is abbreviated log. Okay, so the base over in our other problem is 3. So when we come over here and write it as a logarithm, that is still called a base. So it's going to be a little bit lower than where the log sits. So a little bit lower than that. And then what it equals, in this case 9, is going to be what you're going to write here. Okay. And then over here, this should equal what you said your exponent was. So again, we said the exponent here is 2. So this should, remember, a logarithm is an exponent, so it should equal 2. Now you'll notice the 2, the 9, and the log, you kind of all want to sit around the same level. Should have the 3 be a little bit lower and a little bit smaller, okay? So that is read log base 3 of 9 equals 2. These two forms right here mean the exact same thing, okay? You are familiar with 3 squared equals 9. It's the same as log base 3 of 9 equals 2. Think of a decimal like 0.5. That is equivalent to 1/2 as a fraction. Those two, a half and 0.5, represent the same quantity. They are just written in 2 different ways. That is the same thing here. Exponential form and logarithmic form mean the exact same thing. They're just written in 2 different ways. Okay? Okay, so we're going to just practice this doing this. And this is an important skill as we move through this unit. It might seem kind of easy right off the bat. And once you get used to this, it will be pretty easy, but this is a super important skill for us later in the unit. Okay, so writing in logarithmic form. So it says 3 to the 5th power equals 243. So remember, our base here is 3. So I'm going to write log. Now my base is 3. It will be my base over here a little bit lower. So 3. And then what it equals in the exponential equation, 243, should go right here. Okay, and then your exponent over here is 5. That's what should be equal in your logarithmic form. Now notice 5, 243, and log are all kind of on the same level. When you write these, I want you to be careful with that and write it the same way. So take your time. Okay, so we're going to try these a couple more. We're going to go a little faster here. So this one, log. My base over on the left there is 25, so that will be my base here. 25 of 5 should equal the exponent 1/2. Okay? All right. That's it. Log base 10 of 10,000 equals the exponent, which is 4. Here's a negative that I was talking about. So log base 6 of 1/6 equals -1. And then we just have some letters here, but the process is the same, so this would be log base A of C equals B. So just be careful when you're writing. Make sure your base is a little bit lower and smaller. Okay, let's try going back the other way. All right, so this is logarithmic form. You're going to write an exponential equation. You should be able to check this after you write that, and you'll see here what I mean here in a second. So my base here is 9. That's what I'm going to start with, 9. My exponent is what it equals over here. It's 1. And then to that. So 9 to the first power equals 9. I kind of like to think of it as I'm going around in a circle like this. So this second one, my base over here is 2. 2 to what power? 9. That should equal 512. Again, kind of around like that. Okay, a couple more here. 8 to the 1/3 power equals 2. The nice thing about these is you can check these on your calculator and you should be able to see that that's the same thing. All right, so then 4 to the -2 power equals 1/16. And lastly, b to the first equals 0. So that's going back and forth between logarithmic form and exponential form. And that's it.